I've played a lot of games in my life. Outside of anime, this is one of my favorite hobbies. So when both are combined, you'd think it'd be a match made in heaven, right? Jujutsukaisen. This is a series that took the world by storm within its pretty decent run. So much so that Bandai Namco decided, hey, let's make some more money. You'd think this would be a great idea, but what if I told you that this was the only goal? They don't want to make a good game. Why would they make a good game and waste their time when they can make one with half the effort and still make an absurd amount of money? So that leads us to today. Jujutsu Kaisen Cursed Clash and its incredibly mediocre entry on home consoles. This, might I say, is probably the worst arena fighter in recent time, and dare I say, of all time. But before we dive into what made this game a hot mess of disfigured human, how about you subscribe? You'll automatically become a special grade sorcerer, and if you want more power, head over to the Rants VODs incident where we do a bunch of fun stuff over there too. Okay, let's get back into it. So, Jujutsu Kaisen Cursed Clash was announced in July of 2023, and I'm pretty sure that was around the same time Season 2 was coming out. Hype was at an all-time high for this series, clearly. Even before the game was announced, I think people were super excited for the Shibuya incident, and rightfully so. This arc was massive. Are we bringing the low taper? Oh shit, we are leaving the low taper fade meme in 2024. Oh my god, I don't even know why I put that in the script, guys. But it felt like JJK's series was on top of the world. People could not stop posting about it. There were manga leaks, the anime was dropping insane episodes, and now there's an arena fighter on the way. I'd feel like $1 million if my series was doing this well in such a short amount of time. Everything seems right in the world, but now I have to snap you back into reality. This game is being developed by two studios who have very limited experience in making arena fighters. The first being King, who developed the Once Justice series in Ultra Rumble, and Gem Drops. They don't have anything notable besides Pico Park 2. Yeah! If you told me that there was going to be a JJK game that played like the Once Justice games, I'd be pretty ecstatic, but that's not quite what we got. And let me make it clear, I had no expectations when this game was announced. Most games nowadays share the mark of the beast, and have been pretty subpar recently, whether that be from a lack of content, bad mechanics, or just an underbaked product. Most of these Bandai Namco published games are turning into hate crimes. Most people are slowly resenting them for their blatant disrespect to fans. People who have spent years buying their products and honestly will continue buying their products. But let's jump into the game and see. Ew. I'm really big on first impressions, and this is probably one of the worst I've ever seen. This is a 2000s DVD menu. A nice user interface can really change how someone feels about something. I'll give you some examples so you know what I mean. So in Persona 5, wait, huh? Everyone's tired of me glazing Persona 5? But it's like the best game of all time. Okay, so in Persona 3, the first thing you see is the tiny little menu in the corner. This is very simple, and heading into the game, I feel very comfortable, even if I spent a long period away from it. But back to this game, I think this menu has to be one of the worst I've seen, no hyperbole. Not only is it boring, you can tell that it's completely low effort. Like literally most of the menu screens are just from the openings from the series. I'm not gonna write this game off completely because of some shitty presentation, because this could be one of the best shonen arena fighters of all time. It's kinda hard to ease into this game because everything isn't very clear, so follow my line of logic here. You boot up a game you've never played before. The first thing on your mind is probably, how do I play this game? The closest thing would probably be a tutorial, and that most likely can be found in the story mode. That's the first menu option. Wait, I don't think this was intentional, but why is the online battle the very first thing you see in the menu? I think that sends a bit of a bad message, again, intentional or not. But hopping into the story mode, you're met with the tutorial, and I'm going to start off with the controls of this game because I think it's the most important to cover. The best way I can describe the way this game feels is like Once Justice, but significantly worse. And I'm not trying to be hyperbolic because the game is essentially the same thing, even down to some of the inputs. So X, Y, and B all have different attack styles, and if you hold down the left stick, you do a different variation of that. I don't think this is a bad way to set up your game, but I think it's a terrible way to handle how unique each of the characters play. No matter who I play as, all the characters feel like they're all competing for the title of worst feeling. And you can't even compensate with the game overall being good to control. Everything about this game just feels so stiff. No matter how much I press the button to attack, I always do this one auto combo, and I can never chain attacks. This is one of the most boring games I've ever played. There are also a ton of design choices that make the game a bit eccentric, to say the least. I think the one that is really weird is that you can only do damage with curse techniques. And you'd think, oh, that's the only way to do damage to people in the show, by imbuing cursed energy in your attacks. But sometimes I find myself doing attacks for long periods of time, and not doing any damage in the slightest. Nobara is the worst case of this. You have to get in a certain amount of hits with their nails in order for them to activate. Gojo will do a bunch of punches and stuff, but then you have to use his red, blue, or purple to do crazy damage. I also think that this game has the same kind of rock, paper, scissors mechanic going, like in the One's Justice games, but they never actually explain it. Like when a character is glowing red, you should counterattack. When a character is glowing yellow, you should dodge. Sukuna was the only one that played that had almost all red attacks. He was by far the worst character to play as. Most of these characters play super different from each other, and they closely resemble how they work in the show. I do think that this is a very cool aspect of the game, but I think it ends up hurting it. These characters have very unique abilities, but I feel like these techniques are so fitted for these characters, and most of them don't even follow the same rules. I think that a game needs to have a bottom line when it comes to power systems that are translated into games. Most of the games either go, all of the abilities are on the same level. This example would be your standard Storm 4, or the abilities cost more depending on what it is, and this would be something like Xenoverse. And Curse Clash, I'm not really sure what they went with. Most of these attacks cost a lot to do, but they all do different amounts of damage. Each character has a different pool of curse energy, and that makes sense because they make it very clear in the series, but at the same time, look at Yuji and Sukuna's cursed energy pool. But I don't even think it matters because of how boring it is to play this game. Playing through about 90% of this game, the story mode is so lackluster. Like, they didn't even have the ability to animate any cutscenes or make a completely new story from the game. From my understanding, the JJK mobile game has its own original characters at the very least. If I had to guess, Bandai commanded King to make a new JJK game in a short amount of time to capitalize from the hype the series was getting. This game, much like the One's Justice series, is completely underbaked. The online experience was amazing. It took me a while to find a match, but I was finally able to find one. This game is dead, guys. I didn't find a match. And I went through like a little rabbit hole. I was messaging people on like the leaderboard, and apparently they have like group chats of like people who play the game, and they like, they communicate with each other. Like the top people know each other in the leaderboards. And I'm like, what? That's crazy. I want to play with one of you guys. I never actually ended up playing with anybody from this game. I think this is a testament to how Bandai will do anything to make money and will sacrifice quality. No one is holding them accountable. People are still buying these games. I feel like every time I talk about a popular anime game, it always ends up being, oh, this is underbaked, or this game had so much potential. But I feel like this is truly where we're starting to see a changing point. This game is truly awful, and it's gotten to a point where I can't even sugarcoat it anymore. I can't blame the developers for doing their job because at the end of the day, they're just told to make a game in an unreasonable amount of time. The prospect of making money with minimal effort has plagued Bandai as a publisher, and until something changes, it'll keep going until people stop buying these games. I don't think this game needed to exist. I noticed that Jujutsukaisen is one of those series that the general public likes. And of course, there's nothing wrong with that, but I think that kind of dilutes the overall message of the show. Of course, let me explain what I mean and how this affects the game in particular. So, when a good series is recognized, whoever owns the license to that particular IP will capitalize from the popularity. Nothing out of the ordinary. But once everyone starts watching it, people will tend to just watch it from word of mouth and just enjoy the series at face value. But in the case of JJK, it's not some regular anime. I think JJK does a great job at subverting regular shonen tropes. This is one of the darkest series in Shonen Jump, but I always see kids watching the series and a bunch of celebrities. I feel like most people know that JJK is good, but do they really know why JJK is good? Like, of course the abilities are cool and Gojo is fun to meme on, but at the same time, why are we as a collective worried about who gets shipped with who at the end of the series? I see so many people ask for a JJK slice of life, but I feel like you're completely missing the point. The series is supposed to be bleak, gut-wrenching, and demoralizing. You aren't supposed to see the characters happy because that's simply the world they live in, you know? And when they are happy, it's used to highlight how bad things truly are. But anyway, the publisher would cater to as many people as possible and start making apparel, merch, and in our case today, a game. I feel like most arena fighters have a reason to exist, especially for long-running series with a lot of characters with similar movesets, but most series today, JJK, Demon Slayer, My Hero, all have games with their series, but all of them have pretty small rosters, bad story modes, and aren't supported much after a season pass. In my head, and tell me if I'm wrong, why would I make a game that'll last 30 days when I can make a relatively good game that can last for 5+ years? Realistically, if Bandai published good games, people will play them. Look at Xenoverse, we're in the year 2025 and we have a Dragon Ball Diamond DLC. Before Storm Connections, Naruto Storm 4 was the definitive way to play Naruto, and people were happy with that. I'm no game developer or publisher, so I can't say I know everything about this process, but I come to Bandai as a fan. A fan who wants fun anime experiences. An experience I know they're capable of creating because I've seen it done before. This game sets an awful precedent for future games. This game shows that they are extremely comfortable with giving people a bad product. I hope we can get back to the golden age of anime games, but until then, I'll be playing the 300th DLC for Xenoverse 2 in about 10 years.